since Michael and Sarah came back to have their baby in their hometown. My mother-in-law spoke coldly, saying, "Please leave." "Me? Leave?" I asked, shocked and confused. "Yes, we don't need another mother figure anymore. You've been unnecessary for a while now. Michael and his family will be staying here, so make sure you're gone by tomorrow," she added. I've never truly felt like part of the family since marrying. I was just treated as the wife, and I never imagined they'd ask me to leave. "You're a failure. You were allowed to try raising a child. Be thankful. We don't have to help you anymore. It seems like Simon is tired of you too." "What, Simon too?" I swallowed hard. If this isn't a scheme between my mother-in-law and Michael, then I don't have to worry about my husband anymore. It's foolish of them to kick me out, but it was my mother-in-law who started this. What happens next with this house is not my concern. Let them face the consequences of what they've ignored. I'm Anna Thompson, 45 years old, living with my husband and mother-in-law in a popular area near the station. The location is great, with easy access to the city center. When we were looking for a place, my husband, who was recently promoted to a manager, wanted a large apartment. The rent was high, but the space and rooms made it worth it. My husband, Simon, is 8 years older than me and a divorcee. We met through a friend and, after 2 years of dating, we decided to get married. When I told him about my infertility due to a past illness, he didn't change his feelings toward me. I felt the same way when I learned about his past. Simon had a son, Michael, from his previous marriage. "I'm sorry to ask you, who has never been married, to live with my parents and son. I won't make you suffer. I'll make sure you're happy," Simon promised me. To make sure I wasn't uncomfortable, he suggested moving to a bigger apartment where I could have my own room. "Michael, who is turning 10 this year, won't need much care with my mom around. You don't have to push yourself," he reassured me. After Simon's divorce, his parents helped with childcare. When Simon's father died in an accident, his mother took over caring for Michael. From the start, Michael wouldn't even look at me. I thought it was just his shyness or a tough age, so I didn't worry. As long as they accepted me into the household, I was happy. My mother-in-law was quiet and polite. When I visited to introduce myself after our engagement, she was so kind that I thought we would get along well. "I'll continue cooking as I always have. Simon comes home late, so it's fine if we eat at different times, right, Anna? I'll leave the cleaning and laundry to you. Let's work well together," she said. After we married, I switched from a full-time job at the pharmacy to a part-time position because of the housework. I started work later in the morning and would get home around 8 p.m. Dinner was always ready when I got back, which made me feel good about living together. After work, I had to step in to help. "Anna, I vacuumed Michael's room, so you need to clean the floors and windows and wax them too. This weekend, we're going to the department store to look at baby cribs." Cleaning and waxing at night after a long day of work was exhausting. If I didn't do it perfectly, I'd be asked to redo it. On top of that, my mother-in-law started asking for money, and before I knew it, the house was filled with baby things. "Anna, I need you to withdraw some money tomorrow. There are things I need to buy for the baby." "Again? Isn't it a bit much when Sarah and Michael haven't even arrived yet? Shouldn't we wait and pick things out with them?" I wanted to help and meet my mother-in-law's requests, but the constant spending was making me uneasy. "How can you be so cold? It's Simon's grandchild." "Oh, that's right. You're not related to Michael by blood, so you don't care, do you?" "That's not true. Please don't say that. I just thought Sarah might want to pick things out herself." "When do you want to choose things for your own child?" Her sharp glare made me realize I had pushed too far. I immediately regretted my words, but it was too late. Without saying anything, she went to her room, clearly upset. I was shocked by how she spoke to me. The next morning, she didn't come out of her room, probably still angry. Simon was going on a 3-day business trip, so he called out to her door. "Please don't ruin Mom's excitement for the great-grandchild. She hasn't been the same since Michael left." "You were worried too, right?" "I was, but if we kept spending money like this, we'd have nothing left when Michael and Sarah arrived." Simon's face darkened. "Are you saying my earnings aren't enough?" "No, that's not it at all," I said. Simon just replied, "Fine," and left, dissatisfied. Money discussions always ended like this. I manage our finances, so I had to think ahead. We've been married for 13 years, and Simon's given me a comfortable life. He always said, "Your part-time income is for you to enjoy," so I saved everything beyond what I needed. Even though it's in my name, I consider it our shared property. But Simon's salary had dropped over the last 5 years due to his company's performance. I knew he wasn't considering changing jobs, likely to keep up appearances in front of my mother-in-law. He didn't want to lose his position as department head. Now, I'm the one paying the rent while he covers the living expenses. We've kept this from my mother-in-law to protect his pride. That day, I left work early to apologize to her. When I got home, she was sitting at the dining table waiting for me. I'm sorry about yesterday. I may have gone too far. I apologized, but my mother-in-law didn't respond. Instead, she surprised me with news. Michael and Sarah are coming back for the baby. Please leave, she said coldly. In 3 days, Michael and his wife were arriving. I was stunned and confused. I have to leave? She answered, yes, we don't need another mother figure. You've been unnecessary for a while. Michael and his family will live here. Make sure you're gone by tomorrow. It hit me hard. I'd never truly been accepted into the family since the day I married. I had always been treated as an outsider. The news about Michael coming for the birth made it clear. You barren failure, my mother-in-law continued. You got to raise a child. Be grateful. We don't have to support you anymore. Simon is probably tired of you too. Maybe he's with a new girlfriend by now. Shocked, I swallowed hard, wondering if my relationship with Simon was really over. Could this be a scheme? I thought my husband would never do this. Just a year ago, he never went on overnight business trips. All right, I'll eat up tonight, I said, grabbing my bag and leaving the house to clear my head. I tried calling Simon, but he didn't answer. I called his office and learned he had taken a couple of days off. My mother-in-law's words started to feel true. Could he really be on a trip with someone else? Thoughts of doubt filled my mind, and I found myself crying. As I walked, I passed a tavern behind the station, a place we used to visit when we first moved here. I went in. Welcome. The owner briefly looked surprised but then smiled when he recognized me. Hey, long time no see. It's been about 8 years. I used to come here with my husband, I said. Yes, it's been a while. I remember you, he replied. I smiled, feeling a little better. Can I get a beer and a mixed plate of grilled chicken? I asked. The owner nodded silently. As I sipped the cold beer and ate the grilled chicken, I took out my phone. The screensaver showed a picture of us when Michael turned 18, looking sharp in a suit we chose together. I wished we could be closer as a family. The beer helped ease the tension of the day. Could I really move out tomorrow? I started looking for moving companies, found one, and saved the details. The next day, I also looked up junk buyers and saved 2 companies. Changing my phone's screensaver helped clear my mind. The beer and chicken were delicious. I decided to think everything through once I got home. As I left the tavern, a young waitress ran up to me. Excuse me, are you Mrs. Thompson? She asked. She dropped a bombshell. My husband was having an affair with one of their employees. We exchanged contact information, and she promised to keep me updated. My mother-in-law's words seemed true, and instead of feeling sad, I felt a strong anger build up inside me. It was time to face this. I decided to move out that very day, whether it was a trap or not. If my mother-in-law and Michael were involved in this, I didn't need to stay with my husband anymore. When I got home, I started packing without hesitation, working until midnight. The moving company showed up on time, and I told them I was leaving. I made sure to take everything I bought, leaving nothing behind. My mother-in-law was panicked, but I was firm. I'm taking everything I bought. You can start fresh tomorrow, I said with a hint of satisfaction, ignoring her complaints. She complained loudly to the movers, but there was nothing she could do. The only things left in the house were piles of baby stuff and her old dresser from before I married Simon. Goodbye, I said. Enjoy your life with Simon, Michael, and his family. I placed the keys on the table and walked out. The movers held on to my things for a while, and I went to stay with a colleague for a bit. I felt a sense of peace and slept well that night. A week later, Simon finally called. I wondered if he was really involved with the other woman, but before I could even think more about it, I got a call from the young woman at the tavern. I've got a photo for you, I'll send it. She sent me a picture of my husband and a woman entering a hotel. The affair was still happening. Any remaining feelings I had for my husband faded completely. I asked for the woman's name and found out where she lived. The next day, my husband called. Anna, where are you? Michael and his family are here. Aren't you coming back? No, I'm not coming back. Your mom told me to leave, and I'm done. Michael and his family are living with you now, right? I knew Michael and his family had no money and were planning to stay with us. They had been struggling with jobs and were working part-time. No, I won't come back, Simon said. I went to the pharmacy, and they said you were off. God, please come home. I'm fine, don't worry about me. Your mom and Michael never liked me. They must be happy now that I'm gone, I said, sarcastically. Simon didn't reply, and I could hear his discomfort. He knew his mother and brother never accepted me as part of the family. Okay, I'll come back and talk, Simon said, trying to sound relieved. A few days later, I went back home. Some new furniture and appliances were there. When Michael and Sarah saw me, they just nodded from the couch. My mother-in-law glared at me with a fierce look. It was an awkward silence until Michael spoke. What are you doing here? You took everything from the house. What kind of person does that? Dad's been supporting you, and you've had it easy. I sighed. I took everything because I paid for it. I wanted to remove every trace of me, just like you wanted, right? That's crazy, Simon said. There's no way you could afford all that just from your part-time job. I looked at Simon, and he looked uncomfortable. Anna and I have been getting by on our combined incomes for a while, he admitted. Then the stuff I took should belong to both of us, I replied. I spoke up instead of my silent husband. Simon's company hasn't been doing well, and his salary has dropped. I've been covering the difference for the past 5 years, and now, I'm the one paying for the rent. My mother-in-law looked at Simon in surprise. I'm not just a part-timer, I'm a part-time pharmacist, and the pay is good. I earn more than Simon now. Simon turned away awkwardly. My mother-in-law looked between the two of us, trying to process it. From now on, Michael, you'll be paying the rent. Since you're living here, it's your turn to take care of your grandma, I said, shocking Michael. Rent? How much? Michael asked. $5,600. Good luck. I'm done playing the role of a mother. I don't have to take care of you anymore. You're about to become a father, I said. Michael shook his head. That's impossible. Sarah raised her voice. Wait, $5,600? We were supposed to live here for free, right? Covering rent and expenses? I almost laughed. Don't worry, Sarah, you can move to a cheaper place. Simon still has a decent salary. Sarah's face relaxed a bit. Oh, so when I leave you, Simon, life might get tough with your mistress, huh? That made Sarah burst into tears. Simon panicked. What are you talking about? Sarah replied, your mom told me about the new woman. I said, I guess it's time to end my role as a wife too. Simon didn't think there was any evidence. After all, it hadn't even been 10 days since I left. Wouldn't that hurt Mary if she found out? Well, I'll talk to her later, I replied. Mentioning Mary's name made Simon realize I knew everything. He sat down, holding his head. This isn't the time for divorce papers, he said. Then I'll leave. We'll talk through lawyers, I replied. Neither Simon nor Michael said anything else as I grabbed my bag and stood up. My mother-in-law suddenly slammed her hands on the table and shouted, What the hell? It's all your fault. Our home is falling apart. I got annoyed. It was you who told me to leave. You're the one who said Simon had another woman and messed up my relationship with Michael. This is all on you. I felt a rush of heat. I regretted not standing up for myself sooner. Michael has nothing to do with this. It's time for you, Simon, to take responsibility. He's struggling, and you need to support him as a family member. She's crazy. If she hadn't called Michael home, if she hadn't hinted at Simon's affair, I would still support this home. I've always believed in and supported Simon, my mother-in-law shouted. Where's Michael? Why aren't you saying anything? It's all her fault. My mother-in-law kept complaining as I quickly left the room. Soon after, Simon agreed to the divorce. He couldn't deny the proof of the affair. It wasn't long before they began moving out. Michael and Sarah went back to their apartment and never moved in with the mother-in-law. Simon is now considering remarriage, but Mary is furious about the alimony and his request for her to live with his mother. I've heard they might even put my mother-in-law in a care facility. After all her love for her son and grandson, it's sad to think they're ready to leave her behind. If my mother-in-law hadn't said anything, and it had just been a simple trip for childbirth, maybe we would still be living together. After the divorce, Michael sent me an apology letter. He said he always wanted more attention as a child, but he couldn't talk to me because his grandmother didn't like it. He thanked me for attending school events and said he was happy I was there. Maybe I should have tried harder. Perhaps we could have had a different relationship, though we're no longer close. I quietly hope for Michael's happiness. I've gone back to work as a pharmacist and rented an apartment near my job. I felt uneasy about keeping the furniture and appliances I took, so I had them all removed by a junk service. Life without my mother-in-law's harassment is peaceful. For now, I want to live for myself, not for anyone else.